Luffy, Law, and Kid are the primary forces when it comes to the race for the One Piece. With red hair Shanks and Blackbeard in mind, we're about to kick off the final saga in which I call the Throne Wars for the battle of the final road poneglyph in One Piece. And that's exactly what Kid and Killer are referring to in chapter 1056. There's a man with a burn scar who's affiliated with the final road poneglyph and is therefore in the scramble for the greatest treasure in the world known as the One Piece. Today I'm going to break down in a very simple way who this character with the burn scar is, and I'm telling you right now you're going to be shocked beyond belief. But before we jump into that, make sure to like and subscribe for consistent One Piece theories into your YouTube feed. So for us to crack the code and see who this mystery character is, there's 8 key details about this storyline that we have to take into account. 1, this dialogue was created due to poneglyph conversation. 2, it's about the war over the One Piece. 3, it's a man. 4, it's a character with a burn scar. 5, Luffy asks who they're referring to. 6, Law has a dark, ominous reaction. 7, Robin gives off a confused reaction. And 8, Kid mentions knowing this character is an advantage. So knowing those 8 key details, we're gonna break down one by one the most likely candidates and see how well they fit the description. Starting with the first candidate, Sabo the Flame Emperor. Well, first of all, this would conclude and imply that Sabo has a road poneglyph, which seems very unlikely. We know the history of Fishman Island, and to me, it seems like Whitebeard or Shanks are the most likely candidates for the people who owned that Fishman Island poneglyph. For Sabo to somehow go to Fishman Island, take the poneglyph without Neptune knowing or saying something, it seems very unlikely. And given the context that Sabo wants to declare war on the Celestial Dragons and he wants to take them down, I don't think he's in the scramble for the One Piece at all. His role and position in the story is to take down the world government, not to be in the King of Pirates plotline. But 2 key details that does fit Sabo is 1, he's a man, and 2, he has a burn scar. As seen through Sabo's flashback, we see that he was blown up on a boat as a child by Celestial Dragons. Therefore, he walks around with this burn scar, he walks around with a scar on his face that everyone can see, so it would make sense that Kid would call him the burn scar man, or this man with the flames, as in the Flame Emperor. It's also poetic if Luffy asked who the character was because Luffy's connected to said character. So of course, Luffy and Sabo are brothers, and to have Luffy ask who it is almost symbolic and narratively beautiful to have Luffy and this burn character person connected. But the problem is that Law gave off a sinister, dark, almost depressing emotion when he heard about this burn scar guy, and there's no known connection between Law and Sabo or even Law and the Revolutionary Army. That's completely unknown, and that's complete speculation. So therefore, it doesn't make any sense to me for Law to give this reaction when he doesn't even know about Sabo. But then we also have to take into account Robin giving off a question mark. It would make sense to have her drawn poetically, symbolically connected to this man with a burn scar, considering that she was with the Revs during her time skip. Her and Dragon had to have built a relationship along with her and Sabo. But the final detail with Kid having an advantage but yet no leads on Sabo doesn't seem to add up at all, because we know that Sabo's all over the news, he's all over the newspapers all around the world, and there's a big target on his back. So for him to be the only person that knows about Sabo and what he has going on with the poneglyph and that kind of stuff, it seems very unlikely. Therefore, in conclusion, Sabo being the man with the burn scar is unlikely. Now we're moving on to Monkey D. Dragon. So first of all, I wouldn't say that Dragon's affiliated with the road poneglyph or the scramble for the One Piece at all. Again, his main mission is to take down the world government, as seen through his acts against Marie Joie recently. He sent Sabo, he wanted to declare war, he's not in the scramble for the One Piece. And then again, why would King Neptune allow Dragon to go to Fishman Island, take the poneglyph, not say anything, and leave it in shambles until Whitebeard got there? That doesn't make any sense. If anything, Dragon going to Fishman Island, he would want to declare it as his territory and he would want to protect it. Because all Dragon's been doing off screen in the story is taking these countries, taking these islands, putting it under his protection, making them a part of the RA. So if he went to Fishman Island, didn't protect it, but took the poneglyph and let Whitebeard take it years later, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And then we have to talk about the burn. Again, this makes no sense because when you look at Dragon, that is definitely a red tattoo. If not, that is the most symmetrical and beautiful burn I've ever seen that fits nothing like what we've seen in One Piece. And even when I look at it, that doesn't tell me, oh, flames, fire, burn. No, when I look at it, it's just squares and circles. Like, I can't imagine how someone would look at that face tattoo and say, oh, that's a burn scar. But on to the next detail, it would be like Oda to have Luffy ask who it is because the character with the burn scar is connected to Luffy. And if it's Dragon, it would make sense to have Luffy say this because again, Dragon's the father of Luffy. But then this transitions into a bad detail of Law giving this expression. Again, there is zero known evidence about Law being connected with the Revolutionary Army. But then I do find it interesting how they had Robin give off a question mark, almost to draw a connection between the man with the burn scar and Robin, which does make sense for Dragon because again, she spent her time skip with Dragon with the Revolutionary Army. So for Oda to draw Robin give off a question mark, it does kind of fit poetically. But again, we go into another major issue with Kid having details on Dragon somehow and knowing about the road poneglyph somehow and referring to Dragon as the man with the burn scar. I don't understand how this man shrouded in mystery, Dragon, somehow has details passed on to Kid for Kid to know about this when he's been in Wano, when he's been fighting other Yonko. It doesn't add up. So therefore, my conclusion, Dragon is also unlikely to be the man with the burn scar. And now moving on to Scopper Gabon. For this one, we could kind of speedrun because it seems very unlikely. First of all, him having a road poneglyph and him being in the War of the One Piece, I don't understand that. Is he going to be a one-man army? Is he going to be solo? Is he going to be somehow working with Crocus and Shanks? I think is very unlikely. And a lot of this option and this theory is contingent on a bald man with flame tattoos somehow being Scopper Gabon. You have to take a step back. This theory of Scopper Gabon being the man with the flame scar, you have to have it contingent on a whole separate theory that this man with the bald head with the tattoos is somehow Scopper. I find that unlikely. And then when you take into account other details in this mess, such as Law giving a reaction, why would Law somehow know about Scopper Gabon and give a reaction like that? The only thing you could really say is you try to build off a case of Law being connected to Scopper Gabon, which is just completely random to me. And then the final detail of Kid somehow knowing about Scopper Gabon, even though he's in Wano going after Yonko and stuff like that, I don't understand how Kid would have had this info and have no leads at the same time. That doesn't make sense. Therefore, I think Scopper Gabon being the man with the burn scar is super unlikely. On to the next option, a brand new character. Now, the two biggest candidates for who has the final road poneglyph is obviously Shanks and Blackbeard. And when you look at the context of Fishman Island, its history, the poneglyphs, and it being under zero control at one point, I'd be led to believe that it was Blackbeard that has the final road poneglyph. But we'll talk about Shanks first. Let's assume that Shanks does have the final road poneglyph. My question is, what's the point of introducing a brand new character in the story, somehow working for Shanks that has yet to be revealed, just for the sake of the final road poneglyph? Like, we know his whole crew, we have a lot of their names, we know what they look like, they were introduced at chapter 1. Why create a whole new character for Shanks when, again, Oda could have just had one of those characters we know have a burn scar, which would be speculation because we've seen none of them with a burn scar. It would be completely random. And then you would need to explain why Shanks didn't take Fishman Island under his control if he took the road poneglyph. Instead, he would have left them in turmoil. That doesn't make sense to me. And with Oda speeding up the story, just looking at the end of Wano, a lot of questions to be answered. Again, adding this character just for the sake of the final road poneglyph, I don't see the point. Why not just use a character that already exists? Moving on to Blackbeard, it does make sense if it was someone affiliated with him, given that there's a 10th Titanic captain that we have yet to discover. But I'll ask one more time, what's the point of introducing a new character when there's already characters that fit this narrative? It is my sincere belief that Iceman Kuzan, the affiliate of the Blackbeard Pirates, is the man with the burn scar. To start off, it makes a lot of sense if Kuzan was affiliated with the road poneglyph, given everything we said about Blackbeard, which transitions to him being in the scramble and then the war for the One Piece. If he's an affiliate with Blackbeard, Blackbeard's main goal is to become Pirate King and get the One Piece, it makes sense that Kuzan is also in this war for the One Piece. Whether Kuzan wants the One Piece for himself or not, it doesn't matter because he's working with Blackbeard, therefore he is in the King of Pirates plotline to an extent. Now, if you're wondering why I believe so strongly that Blackbeard has a final road poneglyph, I have multiple videos. One of them should be at the top of the screen. You definitely need to check it out. But transitioning into the next two details, one, Kuzan's a man and he's a character with a burn scar. We know that when Kuzan fought Akainu for 10 days, Kuzan lost and has a scar across his whole body that resembles a burn from Akainu's magma. So therefore, just description wise, we know that Kuzan fits in terms of appearance and goals. And talking about how Luffy could be connected to this burn scar character just symbolically and metaphorically, it makes a lot of sense given that Kuzan tried to kill Luffy in the past and Kuzan has helped the Straw Hat Pirates. And then we gotta talk about Law's ominous reaction, because to me this is a dead giveaway that it's Kuzan. A YouTuber by the name of Randy Troy has multiple videos on why Law is a member of SWORD. And just to give you a refresher, SWORD is a marine organization that's against the Celestial Dragons. Randy Troy believes this to be the case because Kotazone was a secret marine inspiration to Law, Drake was a SWORD member in Law's flashback, the Rocky Port incident was manufactured by Law and Kobe, etc. There's numerous strong evidences why Law is a member of SWORD. And most of the One Piece fandom believes that Kuzan's a member of SWORD for obvious reasons, him going against Akainu, him saving Robin. It makes a lot of sense for Kuzan to be in SWORD along with Law. So if that was the case, which again is very highly probable, it makes sense why Law would give this reaction and why Oda would take the time of day to give Law this expression. They are connected. Which transitions into the next point of Robin having a question mark. This is Oda's way of saying, hey, the character with the burn scar is connected to Robin as well. Robin and Law. Law through SWORD and Robin through getting her life saved multiple times, Water 7, etc. Kuzan is a burn scar man connected to Law and Robin. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking,
okay, the Luffy detail doesn't matter, the Law detail doesn't matter, the Robin one doesn't matter.
Well, when you read a lot of One Piece, you can tell when there's foreshadowing that's logical and physical, and when there's foreshadowing that's what I call symbolic and metaphorical. I believe this is a case where the foreshadowing done by Oda is symbolic. But anyways, onto the final detail. Kid knows that there's a burn scar man that's in the scramble for the One Piece, yet he has no leads, which yet again checks out because the dialogue we got from the Godase is no one knows what's going on with Kuzan. All everyone knows is that he's working with Blackbeard. So if Blackbeard has his final road poneglyph and Kuzan's affiliated with Blackbeard and there's hardly anything known about Kuzan, it makes sense that Kid would say he has no leads. So therefore, in my conclusion, Kuzan is definitely the character with the burn scar. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for consistent One Piece theories. I have a video to my side about the final saga of One Piece. You definitely got to check it out. But I appreciate you guys being here. Peace.